Hey there, Smoke Master D coming at you with an episode of Barbecue Buyer's Guide for buying a barbecue prep card. And here we have some chapter times in case you want to skip ahead. And as always, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now, to start off with, we'll do a quick breakdown of some differences between what I call cheap versus expensive prep tables, or mass produced versus small scale industry. The cheap come in boxes. They're produced out of country. They require you to put them together and will last maybe 8 to 20 years. But at some point, you'll put them out on the curb when you're done with them. And these ones all seem to have stainless steel prep surfaces. The expensive ones will come already put together on a pallet or trailer of some sort. They tend to have cutting board countertops. They're generally made here in country, and you'll likely be able to pass them down to the next generation. Also, before we get going, I want you to understand that there are many other mass produced prep tables that I won't be covering in this episode. I chose ones that are either related to barbecue companies or seemed worthy to me of inclusion. As for expensive ones, I looked for as many as I could find, but I may not have found them all. Feel free to put anything you think should have been in this episode in the comments, and maybe your fellow viewers will see it there. Now, beginning with the cheap, going in order of cheapest to most expensive by any manufacturer's least expensive offering. We start off with Royal Gourmet. They make grills, so I included this one. You can find it currently on Amazon for $159.99. The cart has a non-specific grade of stainless steel for the top of the cart, which will be a trend in the cheap section of this video. 304 grade stainless is considered the best. Generally 430, which is magnetic, or 201 grades are used to save expense. They're fine, but they don't have quite the same corrosion resistance as 304 stainless steel. Royal Gourmet's cart has a lower shelf, cabinet space, a pull bar, a spice rack on the side, wheels, and a paper towel holder. A solid start to our exploration. Now we have Blackstone, famous for their griddles. On the website Wayfair, you can find this 28-inch prep table for $199.99. On Walmart's app and website, the original Series 28-inch, with some improvements, sells for $259.99, and the Pro Series 28-inch sells there for $297. There was an even more expensive model, but I didn't include it because it didn't have good reviews. Now, as we look at these features, we're going to notice that improvements will build from the cheaper unit to the more expensive with successive upgrades. So the simplest 28-inch cart has an unknown grade of stainless steel for the countertop, a pull bar, lower shelf, locking swivel casters on one side paired with straight casters on the other, a paper towel holder, as well as a trash bag holder. Now, the slightly more expensive original 28-inch cart improves with a storage drawer and a fold-down shelf. The Pro Series further includes a cabinet and another shelf. This one with utensil hooks at the end and a removable basin for collecting whatever you want collected. And here we have a third-party cover for the Pro Series prep cart that might just fit the original series cart as well. It's $32.99 on Amazon. And it's made by a company called Jungda. And now for the Oklahoma Joes. Their regular workstation sells for $249, and the larger deluxe sells for $329. You can find these sold at Amazon, Lowe's, or the Home Depot, and probably even more retailers. Again, we see non-specific stainless steel top there, trash bag holder, slide out drawers there on the top side, paper towel holder, lockable casters with rubber overmold. There is a built app to help with putting it together, and it seems to be one of the easier builds among the cheap carts, so if that's a concern for you, the paper towel holder and trash bag holder are removable and reversible, so if you want it on either side, you can put it there. And here we see the covers can be found for these prep stations for $35.48, and it's the same price for both of them. And those are produced by Oklahoma Joe's. Lastly, we have Keter, a company not associated with barbecue. Their extra large cart caught my attention as being worth inclusion. It sells on Amazon for $256.99. Keter does report the stainless steel used for this cart, and it's 201 grade, which is sufficient. And they get points in my book for at least being honest about it. One of the biggest differences about this cart, though, is that it's made from fake polyurethane wood with a resin coating, which won't have any issues with rusting or rotting like metal or real wood. Besides the construction, the Keter XL has a spice rack and a paper towel rack, wheels on one side, and adjustable feet on the other side, pull bar with hanging hooks and a bottle opener, and lastly, lockable cabinets. This cover from Mr. Cover is one of many third-party covers for the Keter Unity XL cart, and it's $25.99. And now we move on to the expensive side of barbecue carts. We'll start with the Workhorse Pits Stable Boy for $855. With a cover, it cost $1,053. And then there's the Stable Boy Range for $1,776. And with a cover, it cost $1,956. I would like to mention that I have long criticized Workhorse Pits for not including any kind of shelf on any of their smokers. This offering could possibly help to make up for this somewhat. So here, we see that it has a sugar maple butcher block countertop. The 6-inch rubber casters that Workhorse uses on their smokers are the same ones they've put on this cart. There's a pull bar and a large area for wood storage, which is why there isn't any shelving down there. The idea is that you will use it with your offset smoker, which makes it one of the most specialized or limiting carts, depending on how you look at it. You prep on top and take wood from the bottom to feed your fire. You could store other things in this space, but without any shelves, the space won't be particularly efficient. The other issue with using this as wood storage has to do with the cover. As you see, the cover does what covers do. It covers. This is good for keeping water out, but if your wood is still green, it's also going to keep water in. When seasoning wood, you should keep the ends of your splits open to the air. If you only store seasoned wood, however, in the Stable Boy, it won't be a problem. Otherwise, you'll likely find that your green wood stays green longer than you want it to. Now, let's mention some of the upgrades with the range. There's a cabinet for a propane tank and a liquid propane double burner on top with a grease catch below. If you want to do any other cooking outside, the burners will keep you right there next to your smoker. And here we have the 1904 Pits standard 4-foot cart with open storage for $1,349. It's likely that the cover for the 4-foot trolley will work for covering it, so I included it on this page, and it's $109.99. It comes with 2 slide-out shelves and a butcher block top. You'll also notice it has an attachment for a paper towel holder as well. The shelves make this more versatile than the Stable Boy. You could fill it up with wood for your cook, or you could easily store any number of other cooking items there as well, or a mixture of both. Now, unfortunately, the Pro 4-foot cart from 1904 Pits is currently discontinued due to issues with the burner they were selling with it, and may come back in the future at some point if they ever get the issues worked out. It was selling for $2,399. And lastly, I would like to mention the Chud table, which quite possibly was the inspiration for these other expensive style prep tables. Bradley Robinson has been quite a trendsetter in the barbecue world. Unfortunately, the Chud table is currently sold out. It was last available in a limited run capacity, and I don't know when it might be available again. The starting price was almost $2,000. That didn't include the cutting board that fits on the upper counter or the burner that fits in the left hand side. Interestingly, it seems that the Chud table offered the possibility of having both a stainless steel prep space as well as a fit in for the cutting board. And now, on to charts. Here, we'll start with the prices for the mass produced cheap prep tables. One of the first things I notice is how tight a grouping we have for the smaller Oklahoma Joe, the Keter, and the Blackstone original carts. The rest of the differences can be seen easily in this visual representation. One thing to mention is that mass-produced items sometimes go on sale, and in fact, some of these are sale prices. That is to say, on these carts you might find a deal. Next, I have the expensive carts, and I decided to put the Oklahoma Joe Deluxe in here as a reference point. One thing to note is that shipping of these carts is likely to add significantly to the cost. You should call these companies for shipping quotes if you're considering a purchase. And now, let's look at the main prep space in square inches. I would like to note that these figures do not include the space on the fold-down shelves of the Blackstone units. Also, that the Keter prep space area has been estimated since they don't give actual dimensions or stated outright. All of the Blackstones have the same 574 square inches. The smaller Oklahoma Joe has 600. The Royal Gourmet has 661 inches. The most popular prep space size seems to be around 900 inches squared, and the 1904 Pits cart has the most with 1,152 square inches. Now, we can only get a few takeaways from the dollar per square inches chart since it doesn't take into account any of the extra features that might make one cart more expensive. But one thing I did notice is that the Oklahoma Joe's Deluxe cart is a better value per square inch than the smaller one where prep space is concerned. Now for weight in pounds. While I reached out to Workhorse Pits for the weights for their carts, they've not responded to my inquiry at the time of this recording. If that changes, I'll pin it in the comments. One thing that weight can tell you is what you're getting in terms of material. So more weight can be a good thing. On the other hand, it's more to push around. And the Keter with its fake wood comes out at the low end. Now, dollar per pound can be instructive on how much material you're getting for your money, but it can't take into account design features and innovations either, like the dollar per square inch. The Keter, unsurprisingly, does worst on this metric, whereas it was almost best in dollar per square inch. The Blackstone Pro 28 does the best here instead. Then the Royal Gourmet. Both Oklahoma Joes are right after. Then the other two lighter weight Blackstones, the 1904 Pits, and then the Keter XL. And here we have the volume of storage space. The Blackstone Pro is estimated from the metrics of its outer dimensions, and I didn't subtract inner cabinet walls or shelves for units such as the Oklahoma Joes. Also, the two cheaper Blackstones aren't here because they have no internal storage. The Royal Gourmet, which did rather well in other metrics, has the least storage space, then the Keter, then I estimate the Blackstone Pro, the smaller Oklahoma Joes next, the Workhorse Pits range next, when you exclude the cabinet for the propane tank, then the plain Stable Boy, next the larger Oklahoma Joe, and lastly the 1904 Pits, which is a beast. Lastly, here is a chart for how much weight you can place on these carts. The Royal Gourmet will stand up under the least amount of weight at 46 pounds. The Blackstone units, at least the two more expensive ones, will hold at least 100 pounds. Could not verify that for the cheapest one. The Keter, despite being made of fake wood, will hold 110 pounds. The Oklahoma Joe's will hold 200 pounds. I don't think the makers of the expensive models have stress tested their carts, but I imagine they can carry a considerable amount of weight on top, much more than 200 pounds. And now that we've gone through all of that, it's time for my thoughts. There are a lot of different criteria each person might have for what they want in a barbecue prep cart. How much space do you need for storage? How much space do you have to store the cart? Do you want to store wood? Do you need a burner to cook outside? Do you just need an extra shelf? Or do you want to cut produce? Starting with the Royal Gourmet cart, the max weight capacity on the counter makes me think it's not as sturdy as the others. I know it costs less, but I'd give it a pass. The cheapest Blackstone cart seems like it would work well for just an extra shelf out near the barbecue that you can do some prep work on. Overall, the Blackstone carts seem pretty solid and probably worth the money if you want to spend it. Now, for a couple thoughts in general, the trash bag holder is an item I understand, but I don't think there's ever a time I wouldn't just pull my kitchen trash can out and use that instead of putting a new bag on a cart. The other thought is wondering just how weatherproof and waterproof these carts are, especially thinking about the cabinets, but also just in general. How much do you really need that cover if it's going to stay outside? Keter seems like a good cart. The fake wood will probably last for a good long time. The cart has a good aesthetic, and even though it doesn't have a ton of storage space, it seems to have the best value for enclosed storage space if you didn't want to get a cover. The thing I'm not crazy about with covers is that taking it off is an extra step before getting at what's inside. So I like the idea of not needing a cover. I also like that lower shelf for the Keter. It adds a lot of space for items you're not directly using in prep on the space above. It's a really good cart. I also like the Oklahoma Joe's carts. They seem like the sturdiest of the cheap side. Even though most of the storage is open, you could get the cover and it would allow you to store things outside in those spaces. Hopefully the cover would last and hold up. If you want something big, their larger cart has a lot of value. Now, for the expensive ones, I like the Stable Boy. I think it should have at least one shelf, just so you can choose whether you want to put some other items within easy reach in the storage besides the wood. I'm thinking like 5 or 6 inches below the countertop, which would give you the same sort of situation with the Keter, where you can just keep some utensils or whatever else down there right below your prep space. A paper towel holder would also be a welcome addition. The range upgrade is nice, but is it really too much of a hassle for me to go inside and use the stovetop? No. So I doubt I would ever really consider that upgrade. Some people, maybe that really would help. Maybe they're far away from their kitchen. Maybe their cook area is a good ways away. Lastly, I like the 1904 Pits cart. It's large and it's functional. If we were going to buy one of these prep carts today, it'd probably be the Keter. If I had a bit more money to spend, I'd probably get the Stable Boy, no cover. I've got my barbecue gazebo, so it would stay under that, and I would load it up with some wood. I know I've thrown some shade at the Stable Boy, but the machining and finish looks better than the 1904 Pits, and I don't think I really need all the extra table space of their cart. Well, those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Add those to the comments as well as any reviews of these products you have to share. And as always, go get your smoke on, y'all.